Hey everybody, Estrella here. Welcome to my second ever speed paint on this channel. I'm using a terrible microphone, but I hope it has some lo-fi charm, as Martin Blackwood would put it. And also, I wanted to say that this is not the full speed paint, because I didn't record the whole process just because I was doing it in class and it was excruciatingly boring, but here are some of the process pics. First, we got the MS Paint drawing that I did forever ago, which was actually the basis for this. And then where I started tracing it. Marvin's body is just Henrik's edited body because I didn't want to draw it twice just to make it symmetrical, so yeah. But then I started to do flat coloring and the shaded coloring, and here is kind of where we left off before I started recording. So here we go, speed paint. The reason that I'm actually recording audio for this is because, first of all, I just wanted to sort of experiment with what I'm doing on my channel, provide some more talking and not just me playing guitar and giving you empty content. And the other reason why I am recording this is so that I can have an explanation for the drawing itself, because it's a little weird looking without context. The picture idea, it's Henrik von Schneeplestein and Marvin the Magnificent with cards in their hands and butterflies over their mouths. These are based on my headcanons about the egos, because if you didn't know, the JSE ego community is like 90% based in headcanons. There's very minimal canon actually there. In fact, half of the characters kind of started out as fan characters. So yeah, this is just based on my ideas. None of this is actually reflective of canon except for small things. The playing cards mainly came from the whole Marvin being a magician thing, card tricks, all that, but there are further meanings in why I chose the suits. The suits I chose were the King of Hearts. That is because hearts in cards represent knowledge, which is something that both Marvin and Henrik in my headcanons pursue quite a lot. Love, fortune telling, which suits the magician thing, and light. I also chose the King of Hearts because he's known as the Suicide King. If you didn't know, it's because he's holding a sword and it looks like he's plunging it into his head, but if you look into the history of it, that was actually a misprint over years and years, because people used to make cards by hand, drawing them, and eventually it kind of sort of got lost in translation. Originally he had a sword just propped over his shoulder, but the backside of it eventually got sort of cut out until it looked like he was stabbing himself. But I just thought it was an interesting motif. You didn't really need to know the whole history there, but I just thought it was neat, so that's why I included it. The butterflies are for a couple different reasons. For one, I headcanon that Marvin he has illusion powers. I just thought that's cool. I've always thought that was neat, like Hazel and Heroes of Olympus, the ability to conjure images and trick people and stuff. So the butterflies, he likes to make things like butterflies to cheer people up. Henrik, in my headcanons, he is actually into vulture culture and bug collecting and things like that, so he actually has those big picture frames full of pinned butterflies that, of course, he collects ethically, but that is also where the butterfly thing sort of matched. And also butterflies symbolize transformation, and so that's something that I thought fit them, because Marvin transformed from sort of a cowardly character into somebody with all this magic and confidence and power. And this is actually kind of based in canon, because in canon Henrik disappears at the will of Auntie for 9 months, and so a large amount of the fan base headcanons that Auntie just straight up kidnapped him and locked him up. And so the idea of a caterpillar going into a chrysalis and coming out as a butterfly, while Henrik came out a lot more damaged than the average butterfly, just the idea of sort of disappearing, being presumed dead, and then coming back with maybe not more strength, but just a change, a big change. Butterflies also symbolize endurance and hope, and I thought that really fit both of them well. Shading will be the death of me though. You'll notice that half the things that I did, I later went back and reversed. Like I start to airbrush over the shading on underneath his arm because it was too much, and I was also trying to get it symmetrical to Henrik, which was difficult because they're just, I colored them at completely different times, days apart on some things, so that was frustrating, which also made editing this so much harder because I was cutting out all these little clips from in between, and getting them in order and stuff was super frustrating, and then my editor wouldn't work, so rip me, but you know how it be. I almost forgot to mention, the butterflies, as you can see here, are peacock butterflies. I think I'm remembering that correctly. Oh lord, I hope so. But I picked them because they're the butterflies that kind of look like they have eyes on their back, and I am a sucker for eye imagery, and it really fits considering these are the Jacksepticeye eye egos, and the stuff with Auntie and the spooky glowy eye. I really like that sort of thing, so I thought that would be perfect for this. So that is why I chose that particular butterfly, and I also just really like the colors. It's more bright, but it still has all those like muted brown tones in it, so I thought it was pretty. While I get to other things throughout here, some life updates. I'm in my last year of high school, so I'll be going to college eventually soon. That's a vague way of saying it, but eventually soon. And so just lots of change stuff going on. I will be moving to a different state, going to a whole different life, and I'm gonna be younger than a lot of my peers because I'm ahead in school, so that will be just a really different experience. But honestly, I'm way more hopeful and enthusiastic about it than I used to be, so not entirely pessimistic about this sort of thing for once, even though I'm scared of change and time passing by. That got really deep for a second. Now time to talk about nipples, because that's what you see on my screen as I'm drawing here, and I specifically wrote in the notes for things I would talk about that I cannot draw nips. So you can almost feel the frustration and the just like desperation seeping through this video of how I needed to get them right. They never look right. I don't know. I don't typically look at shirtless men, so I don't really know how to draw them. There's this one drawing I did like months ago, and I had it, and one of the characters was shirtless in it, and I forgot to draw his nipples at all. Like, he just had no nips, and I didn't realize it until literally months later. I thought, just what an accomplishment on my part, really, to just completely forget that entirely. Oh, and right here we have Henrik's scars. I sound like a tour guide, like a really bad tour guide. If you take a look on the left, although it might be covered right now, he has an A scar on his shoulder. That is where Auntie carved an A, like an initial, into him. On his hip, there's a heart tattoo, and that is also from Auntie. Well, Henrik was drunk at the time, or at least hypnotized or intoxicated of some sort, when Auntie had the idea of, hey, I'm gonna give you a tattoo. So he regretted it when he sobered up. I don't know what else to talk about. I could talk about Marvin's tattoos. I keep touching the microphone, so you might hear some crunchy noises. Marvin's tattoos are, there's a cat eye on his arm, there's a feather on his chest, there's a scar for him too. He's got a couple scars, although they're more well hidden. He's got tarot cards on his arm. I always forget how to say that, so ignore me. A rune on his thumb, and I forgot which it is, but I believe it's something for protection. And he also has a flower on his tummy. I believe that is an amaryllis flower. I will check after doing this recording and stick it on the screen if I'm wrong. It's, again, these are all my own ideas, but I forget them very easily. Finished product. Do a little loop-de-loop and turn.